Okay, it's midnight for me, and I welcome Australia, Italy, Spain, the United States, and some Far East. I don't know where they are. How are you doing, guys?
For me,
yeah,
4 p.m.
That's
yeah, me too. 4 p.m.
One more hour, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
that's nice for you, but in party time kind of ending because of the COVID situation, and
I think Ben, if I did my research right, you're in North Carolina, is that right? So 6 o'clock, maybe on the East Coast.
Ben, check your microphone. Oh, Devil, did you add him to guest? So he
last week.
He's always right.
Yep. So we have Ben here. For everybody, this is
he's there.
I can see him. Some point his audio will show up, but he is the lead developer for Lynx, and I had a bunch of questions for him. This one's going to be fun.
Yeah, this is gonna be I like I said, this is gonna be kind of techier, more of the techie stuff. This interview gonna be like, he will be talking a bunch of stuff. So, I mean, mostly there will be you.
Probably he's using a Apple phone. Whereas Discord is having troubles with voice activation.
I'm on my iPhone, so it's working.
Okay.
That's true, and you sound good.
We had it before, and it's kind of strange.
The only problem I have is Euro's always like, your voice is too low. So I'm not sure if I'm talking slower. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's like feel like I'm really talking louder.
Well,
for me it sounds kind of.
We can create a worldwide cryptocurrency, but I think Discord is always a special challenge for any of us. Gotta love it. So, who in our community here is connected with Lynx? Did I remember right that you or Oz are somehow connected with him?
Oz is connected. I got to know Ben from LynxCI. So we had a video chat last month. So that's how I know Ben, and I've been since then. I've been talking, like not chatting with him, like one-on-one, learning about his project and everything.
Awesome. So he's part of LynxCI then as well.
Yes, he is.
Oh, good. Because I noticed that he was on part of a paper with Crypto Stan. Oh, hey, how's it going, Ben?
Welcome.
Sorry, I was screwing around with the mic. I could hear everything you're saying, but my audio wasn't going in right. Keep going. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Hey, no, I was going to say I noticed that you are on a paper with Crypto Stan about something that was verifying medical information through crypto or through the blockchain. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We ended up doing 2 of them. I think that was one of the 2 papers that I co-wrote with him. Mm-hmm.
Oh, what was the other one then?
It was a process paper that we had done. It was one of his doctoral candidates was working on a paper, and they needed salt with it, so I co-wrote a process with. It was just really about legitimacy of facts and how we track that data as it moves through the process.
Yeah, in a world of alternative facts, I can see a real need for a verification process exactly like this.
Yeah,
transparent, and I love it. So, I mean, this is I guess a different kind of little interview where we probably learn more about you. I've just done some research on my own. I don't have anywhere near the tech capacity of Rab or Ozkoi, but I did have a couple questions for you about your white paper just right up front. I noticed that you name checked the Boy Scouts of America merit badge right up front.
I did. I think that's on the, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like your first footnote. So are you a Boy Scout or were a Boy Scout?
Scouting is a big thing in my family. My brother is an Eagle Scout as well as myself, my father, and we're a big scouting family. Yeah.
Excellent. I too am an Eagle Scout. So I didn't know that there was a cryptocurrency merit badge. That's good to know.
I don't think there is a cryptocurrency merit badge. I simply sat down with programming, I think, merit badge, or I can't remember
Oh,
which
it's
one
the
it was.
programming merit
It's in
badge.
there.
Got it.
Yeah, and I read all the print and I verified fit. So
Fantastic.
so we had this side project, put together a curriculum for the programming merit badge that worked with the Lynx products and open source.
That's awesome. So harness some scout power
Things that we were going to work
to
on.
move you're just going to harness the scout power and move it forward. I love it.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And so I'm going to try to plug in my Bluetooth headset. Let's see if this works better.
Okay, it sounds good.
So what do you have to do to get on that badge?
So have you ever done scouting, Rab?
No, that's the place from where I am, we didn't have those kind of things. I mean, I know seeing. I mean, I know like that like Lion clubs and those kind of things, but
Yeah.
I was a part of the Red Cross, but not in.
Okay.
But my daughter is she's a member of Girl Scout. She's the DG.
Oh, Girl Scouts. It's exactly
Yeah.
that. It's
And
the
my
opposite.
son,
It's the boys' version of Girl Scouts.
but here's the thing: my son gonna join, so I'll get to know in the future.
Yes, you will.
He's
And I would
he's
say
gonna join Boy Scout, yeah. Or, I mean, club.
boys.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect. I was going to say
Okay,
Boy
great.
Scouts aren't nearly as useful to a parent as Girl Scouts because you don't get cookies out of it.
Yeah.
The cookies are big
That's
business,
true.
man, for those Girl
Oh
Scouts.
man, we sold like almost $2,000 worth of cookies last year, but because of pandemic, like last week everything closed. But we did. I went to every single house. My
Wow.
wife, I'm sorry, my wife, she used to be a Girl Scout, and she's like very competitive. She just wants to be the top in the line, like on
Yeah.
her, like on her troop. So my daughter was a #1 salesperson in that troop. That was fun.
Now I'm assuming Ben, your continued involvement in Scouts.
It's been a while since I volunteered. One of my companies was considering sponsoring a local troop, but that hasn't panned out yet. It's kind of weird in North Carolina and the local council. So no, I haven't been heavily involved.
Right on. I haven't either. Once I got my Eagle, I was out. So Lynx is you revived. Do I pronounce it Kite coin? It's basically the
I think it was
cat
pronounced
version of
that strange
Doge.
Kite. Yeah,
Kite,
it
like
was.
Doge. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the answer to the DOGECOIN. It was the gentleman's name is Sebastian, who last I heard works in the SIA coin project, SIA, and created
interesting.
a response to Doge in 2010, I think it was.
Okay. And then it sounds like they had some security breaches. But I think your white paper describes it as if an ATM would spit out $20,000 bills or $20,000 with every $20 withdrawal. So that does hurt a coin.
Yeah, most coin projects have a hack in their history, and this one was pretty embarrassing. It couldn't be ignored, so we addressed it and talk about it freely, of course.
I love it. I got a little laugh in your paper where you say that you demonstrated your ability to solve real problems using cryptocurrency by solving a real cryptocurrency problem. So you got a little dry humor going there. I liked it.
I wish I could take credit for that, but that was our talented copywriter that she took my notes that I had and she spun that out. And I read it and I was like, I think I understand what you just said. And that was kind of cool. Yeah, let's leave it in.
I know. I really liked it. I was like, some humor. I rarely see that.
There are a few other little secret hidden jokes in there that were shout outs to some of our investors and advisors, which I could bore you with some other day.
Now, was that Alexis, the pitch professor?
That's Yeah, Alexis is a professional former professor and a pitch coach, presentation coach, and she's a really great copywriter. And so all of that white paper passed her desk, and
Nice.
you can tell the first half of it is non-technical. And so that was coming pretty much from her voice. And
Nice.
then the second half was my content. The original document was about almost 70 pages long.
Oh, wow.
And she said, no, this is BS. No one's going to read all this. We need to water this down and clean it up a little bit.
Right. Well, kudos to her and you. It's that is a readable white paper.
Thanks.
I like it.
I'll pass it on to her.
Yes, please do. And so with Lynx, I mean, the essence, and I like that it's so simple. It's essentially discourage mining for profit, very, quick, secure, and cheap.
That's right. That's right. And so there's a bit of, as you can imagine with what you just said, that's kind of shocking to some people that are in the cryptocurrency space. There's a lot of unlearning that needs to be done when it comes to the Lynx project. And there's a little bit of confusion for new participants.
They're like, what? No moon? Moon?
Right. Why would I, the big question that comes up, with those people that are sitting on top of their ASICs at home for a footstool, or they're saying, well, why would I mine Lynx? And I'm like, well, you didn't read the white paper, did you?
Right. Exactly. It has been designed not to foil your desire. I like it.
Yeah.
I was curious, what kind of, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, that's, there's the smart ass response of, well, you didn't read the white paper, but I understand why people ask the question, and it makes sense because there are security and performance implications that come from that. And I think that I addressed those in the white paper as well. But there's also answers to that aren't addressed in the white paper that came later, and that's ties into the logware business that we could talk about. It's the use case part of the conversation.
Yeah, so that's what I'd like to learn more about. Maybe to go back a little further, you mentioned somewhere, in LinkedIn or wherever, that you majored in philosophy. Who were your go-to philosophers? What kind of philosophy?
Oh, that's great that you asked. Thanks. I don't really get this too often, but I was a big Hegel fan. I was also a big fan of Wittgenstein. Yeah, Wittgenstein and his study of language. And really, I mean, I was originally went into school because I thought I was going to be some type of priest, or I wanted to go to seminary or something like that. And as soon as I got in there and I realized that, wow, there are other people with the same strange questions as me, I ended up going a completely different direction. And, card-carrying atheist now, because I realized that all those questions and thoughts that I had since I was 7 years old, I wasn't the only one. There were other far smarter people that wrote books on these topics. And so philosophy was really a wonderful part of my life. Yeah. Going to school and studying this stuff. But Wittgenstein was really important for me because the study of language and how it impacts culture, that was really a big deal.
Yeah, it's, everything I know about Wittgenstein, I know by way of David Foster Wallace, the writer. And I guess when you talk the language, this would be the later Wittgenstein, right? The post-Tractatus Wittgenstein. Do I have that right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I had my Tractatus has, I think I still have it with notes in there of my own thoughts. And since then I read a lot of Joseph Campbell, Christopher Hitchens' essay. I'm staring at that book right now. And my stack of Richard Dawkins just keeps me awake at night. And right now we could go through our Audible list of recent great reads later.
No, that's fun. So, I mean, how would you say, I mean, specifically Wittgenstein with language, that my understanding is that, with language, I mean, that is, I guess, how do you put it? It's someone who thinks that, I guess, would argue for solipsism, right? Or, that we're all disconnected from everyone else. Wittgenstein, that's the argument against a private language, that we're all connected at a very basic level, right? Through language.
Yeah, I would say my understanding of it and the way that I talk about it is the understanding of a base element or a core concept. I'm a big proponent of, and I talk about this when I'm giving conferences, motivational speeches, and as a mentor with my folks that I work with, that I believe in what's called the neurosphere. And so you can do some reading on this if you read about the third world of the neurosphere. And Wittgenstein kind of touches on this. I think it was a little bit early. But, and I'm trying to remember the guy's name. I can't remember this other scientist that studied it too. But there are core concepts or core objects that Wittgenstein proposed that all ideas are built on top of. And of course, Wittgenstein did a really great job of not telling us what those core objects are or what that core object might be. But he talks about it in his Tractatus, and he talks about it in some of his other writings. And so I propose that such a core object does exist. And really, it's not really a visual item. It's more of a concept or a space that we go to for ideas that we tap into. And I call it the neurosphere. So, I'll give you a really concrete example that our listeners can kind of put into context. And it would be something like this. You're standing in the shop, you have that great idea. It happens to all of us. That idea was either fed into you or is being passed to the neurosphere. And I think of the neurosphere as a cloud way up in the sky, if you want to visualize a concrete image. And so that idea comes to you, or you're passing it into the neurosphere. And as soon as you have it in your brain or mind, you can pretty much assume that others have it as well. And so they're going to take that idea and they're going to manipulate it and work with it. It might be a new business idea. It might be a product idea. It might be a concept for your book. It might be a great thought. It might be a horrible thought. But there it is, and it's in the neurosphere. And human beings' brains are interconnected in some weird, unexplainable neural way. And we all can tap into that. And so, you're at a party and you tell somebody you had this idea, and gee whiz, someone says, I had that idea a year ago. All right, and I didn't do anything with it. Or this is the reason why, and blah, 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 and things unfold. And it seems so unfair for we as humans to say, well, how did that happen? That's so strange, and maybe even magical that something like that could happen. What are the chances? And so I propose that this neurosphere concept would explain that pool of ideas and concepts.
And is that kind of like a Jungian archetypal? I mean, archetypes there are also core objects? Or are you talking something even below that?
I think if you do some reading, the professor's name is Dr. Karl Popper, Karlpopp. Yeah, Popper.
I've heard the name. Yeah, I've heard the name.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about him.
You can Google the wiki and get some basic ideas from him. I think I've got a couple of his PDF papers on my computer somewhere that I've drooled over.
Well, awesome. Well, I got to say that's one of the most enjoyable things about doing these chats is finding and learning things that I know absolutely nothing about and opening up realms. So thank you for opening a realm.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, let's talk about Logware, because I was wondering what that is and, what you're doing. How you see Lynx being a use case for that.
All right, so the argument that we make is that, and let's go ahead and talk about a traditional database, because many of us here are technologists and we work with technology. So we understand a traditional database platform, maybe like MariaDB or MySQL, or maybe Oracle if you work at the bank. And so all of us pretty much know that you can download an open source database like SQLite or MySQL or MariaDB, and you can use it. Now, does it have value? Well, once you downloaded it and installed, turned it on. It does not. So anybody under this can go to Linode, turn on a file, fire up MariaDB, and be running a database. It has no value. It's what you do with it that brings the value. And I argue that blockchain technology is no different. So what we build, the applications that we pop up database platform is where that value comes from. So Airbnb has a market cap and generates revenue and pays salaries for lots of folks that have their jobs. And it provides a really great service for those folks that use Airbnb. And one of the core technologies behind it is a database in some form or another, a legacy database. And I don't know a whole lot about Airbnb, but that's just my basic example to give. And so there is a business that's providing a service built on top of that technology. I propose the blockchain is very much the same. And so if we remove the incentives, I kind of think of it as a little bit of noise. The mining concept that we all read about in the 2009 Satoshi paper tells us about this really cool concept. And one of the elements to that paper is the mining piece. And when you can create a business just around the mining, that's really a great incentive. It's terribly exciting to get involved. What a great way to perpetuate a story about your new technology and bring it online. there are non-technologists that know more about mining when it comes to cryptocurrency than they understand about cryptocurrency or blockchain, because they've heard that romantic story about, people getting rich, or there's some crazy factory out in Iceland and they don't have any fans, and all the mythology that goes around, right? All of that. What a great way to bring online and penetrate the IT field with the new technologies and new toolbox in our toolkit that we use as builders. And I propose, all right, that 10-year period now has passed. I think we can probably drop that story. Yeah, miners that are out there making money are rolling their eyes at me right now. And I get that. I'm not trying to shoot them down or say you shouldn't be making money from mining anymore. And I'm not really saying mining needs to go away. All I propose is that let's go ahead and roll out some blockchain technology that really just kind of goes a little bit different way. We're just taking a little different path. We're going to use it to build on top of. So with the Lynx technology, we modified it to take away those economic incentives for miners to come into the project simply to mine it for profit. Instead, we're going to run it. We still need miners because we have security implications and implications. So we're still going to have that functionality, but the incentives aren't there. The economic incentives aren't there to mine it for profit. Instead, you're going to mine it to put your 2 cents in, to participate in prolonging the security and performance of the overall network. You yourself individually don't have to handle the capital expense of running a global public secure blockchain to build your applications on. Instead, all you got to do is just fire up a node or two. In fact, if you choose not to, no one's going to yell at you, or you're not going to get in trouble. But if you want to fire up 5 or 10, you can do that too. And that's going to not only help the security of your own application that you're building on top of this blockchain technology, but it's going to help others too. It's truly a social network. And so the logware piece is an API that we expose to our friends, our developer friends who want to store data. And so, we've got file servers, we've got traditional database servers. Storing data on a blockchain is a little bit different. Specialized type of data, certain types of data. We're not competing with file servers, we're not competing with databases, but there are certain types of data that we do want to store permanently, ephemeral data that needs to be permanently accessible at some point in the future. We want logware,
like medical records, things like
to
that.
be that core platform. Yeah.
So are you thinking of things like medical records, or, what other items are you thinking there that would need to be stored permanently?
Sure. Give you a whole bunch of examples. We've got a proof of concept prototype that we built out. I designed a solution and built that out for a COVID certificate. So I presented to the CDC and to the White House about 6 months ago. 6 weeks ago, to the CDC and to the White House, a COVID solution that was built on top of logware. And we built it out. We pulled all-nighters. We got it done in about 2.5 days. And we had an on-chain mainnet production prototype running the storage of vaccination documents for individuals. And it runs like a champ. So another application would be track and trace data. So you've got a kidney that has an IoT sensor inside of the cooler that's moving between hospitals. The doctor needs to know when it arrives that it hasn't sustained any damage in the form of drops, maybe with a meter that can measure impact, temperature variations. That data being uploaded, we all are maybe aware, cell phone technology can be packed inside smaller than a cigarette box. And so that data can be uploaded in real time via the API. And so you can see a real-time report when that organ arrives. Same thing with vaccination containers that contain cooled vaccination vials. And I'm also thinking about track and trace with regards to agriculture. So raspberries that leave California that arrive in North Carolina.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you've got that IoT device sitting in the truck. Yep. And how cool, you can build contracts. You can build out, I used to work at a bank, and so I was exposed to this whole insurance concept built on top of these contracts. So you could have an insurance contract that was built on top of the report that came in that can't be questioned. So the IoT sensor data picks up barometric pressure, movement, GPS, and temperature inside the cabin of those raspberries as they move across the country. Once they arrive, a report can be seen in real time even of how much variation occurred, and the price would fluctuate. There's your insurance piece that would tie in. The price would fluctuate that the recipient would pay for those raspberries as they arrived. And so you could do that with all sorts of agriculture all along the line, even an application with planting seeds and inserting the pesticides that go in the ground with them. You could measure how much and where. You've got that permanent data, which is auditable in the future over time. What's nice about stuff like that is when the analysis is done on that data set, you have confidence in knowing that the data hasn't ever been manipulated. You also have confidence in knowing that the data set, the raw data set itself can't ever be lost.
Yes. So I can see, I'm in real estate, right? And I could see this for title, and I could even see it for supply chains and construction, and with even homes themselves, components of homes.
You bet. We've had there was a concept that we entertained with a developer that came to us that wanted to mark on the chain the actual titled plot deed of property. Yeah. Because once it's on the blockchain, then you could title that to somebody, and they would basically could blend those titled property units together if you wanted to buy two and turn it into one, and you could tie it to an individual. And so you could have the anonymous data about the plot and its, the size and shape of it, but maybe the name of the owner wouldn't be tied to it. That would be off chain, or it'd be encrypted and held by the local municipality or village.
Got it.
Yeah, so there's lots of different ways you could leverage it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, meter data from power. Yeah, think about the gas bill and the power bill and the water bill that comes to your house or apartment. If that data was metered on the chain, if there's ever a question, you'd be able to go back and audit.
That makes, and so that's what Logware is essentially the raw tool that someone with these ideas, they can use Logware to build their API on the Lynx blockchain.
Well, that's just it. So the ideas that we're talking about aren't really particularly new. I think we've been reading about these from people far smarter than us.
Yes.
There we go. Far smarter than us in Forbes and Wired magazines for years now. But the problem that I saw as an entrepreneur is it was really hard to onboard and get with that technology. And so, anybody can go and get a license for Hyperledger and download that and get started. But you're already, $250,000 a year, and then you got to hire a special developer to help you with that language. Or you can get with IOTA, I suppose, and go down that path. But I'm not sure I would build anything on IOTA right now, even though I'm kind of a big fanboy of that project. I think it's great, but I just don't think it's ready yet. So my idea was, why don't we just go ahead and build out a RESTful API that's standards-based, build it on top of AWS so it's durable and reliable and usable, and let's put out a how-to document. Developers who are comfortable working with APIs or have used, what's the software the app to work with APIs, I can't remember it, can use the API and just have instant access to it. So really the payment point is gaining access to your API key.
Nice. Well, this sounds brilliant. Now, does this connect at all with your other business that you have, the delivery path?
Yeah, it does. Postman is the name of that app, by the way. Anybody can download and install Postman on there. Yeah, a lot of developers use it to integrate and test your APIs that you're working with and figure out how to leverage those within your application. And that's what we tell our customers that use Logware is fire up Postman, fire up your key, go ahead and probe it, test it, see how you want to use it, because we've got a couple different product API that you can leverage for your application. We provide some guidance for the customer to get their pricing just right. And then off they go, and they build that into their application. Postman even has the exports in 20 different languages for the code itself. So you can quite literally paste the export code out of Postman into Node or Python or Ruby or whatever you're doing. Yeah.
Very good. And delivery path connects with that. That's essentially server.
Yeah. Yeah. And so delivery path is it's an 11-year-old company. It's been paying a lot of the development bills of this Logware company for many years now. Delivery Path is a WordPress website hosting company for creative agencies. And so we leverage the Logware technology to store the credential data of customers. So we have, I don't know if it's hundreds of thousands, but maybe tens of thousands of credential data information that we store on behalf of our customers in a secure encrypted containers that sit inside of, via the logware, they sit inside of Lynx, and they're both read and set by the logware API. So we leverage that to differentiate delivery path from other website hosting companies. We are, I think we're the only website hosting company that I know of that leverages blockchain for the security of its customers.
Yeah, so you would have to, someone would have to, to say 51% attack your coin to try to hack that data, correct?
If they wanted to, and to be honest with you, there's, I think, 3 of security within that. So even if you gained control, as you know, with a 51% attack, after blocks have been written, historical blocks have been written, there's a special type of attack that you'd have to do with a 51 to be able to modify the older data. You'd have to attack the older element in the chain, an older block in the chain, and then move up from there, which is a challenge, but I suppose it's possible if you have the, if you really have the motivation. But that payload that's stored on the chain via the API is also encrypted. So, I mean, the worst case scenario would be, I suppose you'd fork the chain somehow, which cause the payload, the encrypted payload, to be ignored by others. But then the main chain would still be online. I mean, ultimately, when the attack ended, everything would snap back into place, and the data would be viewable.
Right. You're absolutely right, and that's awesome. Well, I think we take a break at this point, and I had questions about forking, so we could probably do that right after
talk
our
about
break.
that. I'll stick around. Sure, sounds good.
That was funny, yeah. I make it. No, it's not done. I'm going to the original, but I'd like to use the short break to thank WB. He sponsored the server with Groovy, our soundbot premium. So now we can control the volume, we can pitch, we can keep it up 24/7. And that's why we're going to, not we, but the dev team, buzz him a little bit of thank you.
Thank you, WB.
That was great.
Yep.
But the thing is about that song, I don't know what the hell is that.
Yeah.
You don't know Iron Maiden?
Yeah. Okay. I resume and next.
Well, thank you.
I can see. I can't. I don't know.
Well, I can say, Iron Maiden certainly provokes a reaction, and you gotta say,
the funny thing is still. I mean, in the 80s, some Bible guy on the corner or somebody, but nowadays, I don't know. It's just funny for me.
Success. Yeah, Iron Maiden, they have their own plane. Bruce Dickinson flies the plane. Pretty impressive outfit. I don't know if Ben is an Iron Maiden fan, but I am. So thank you for that, Motorhead, Iron Maiden. But yeah, when we get Ben back online here, we'll talk forking. Since WB he had asked about the area code, I had heard this. There's a radio show here in America, Wait, Don't Tell Me, and this is back in like 0506. They said that apparently researchers had found an earlier version of the Book of Revelation, and in it they determined that the number of the beast was actually 616, which is an area code for West Michigan, a state in America. So it turns out the number of the beast is somewhere in West Michigan, and it's an area code.
You're telling me now that I sent some 666 LCC I could save 50?
Correct. That is what I'm telling you. Save your 50 LCC.
Damn, man.
Well, it's rough. So Ben, welcome back. We're going to get to community questions.
Ben, you got the whole Bible when I was playing.
I didn't understand that. Say it again.
You went for your Bible while I was playing 666 because I got a little bit of hate in the chat. It's the first time ever. I mean,
I get it. Sometimes certain people are sensitive to. I get it. I'm a big fan of Tool, so I don't know, just sharp.
Yeah.
But I've also got Dave Brubeck on my record player, so
I was
all over
going
the
to say,
place.
why didn't you say this at the beginning? My life kicked into overdrive when Tool got on iTunes. It has been so sweet.
Yeah,
so
same
you're
here.
a Perfect Circle fan too? You're also a Perfect Circle fan?
Oh yeah, yes I am.
Yeah, you know, Maynard is a good man. So we left off on the topic of forking, so you know, you probably already knew this, but you know, wonderful that we're all together because we as well in LCC are a fork of the Litecoin chain, right? But what I wondered is how your fork differed from ours, because you talked about porting in the Kite coin. How do you explain it?
Right. So there's for those listeners, there's lots of different types of forks that we have in this space, and so I'll just talk about the two types of forks that we have. One was for project fork. So these are the two that I'll focus on. In the case of a chain fork, what you do, which I think Litecoin did, Litecoincash did, is you take the history of a particular chain, and at a particular block, you say, okay, we're going to go in a different direction because of modified business rules. Is that correct? Did I describe that right for LCC?
I'm not at all versed on the technical part of it, but that sounds right. Because we actually went back. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah,
that is correct.
So,
yeah,
okay, correct. So that means, so to put it in context, if you if you're super rich in Litecoin, maybe one day, a long time ago, you went on Coinbase when they first opened up, or when Charlie Lee got Litecoin on there, and you stocked up on Litecoin when it was only 50 cents a piece, and for some strange reason you held on to them all. Well, when a chain fork occurs, which so many have of Litecoin, you now own that many of the new coin, and you still have the original Litecoin. So when the business rules for a chain fork, you will have, suppose I had bought 1,000 Litecoin a long time ago. I now have 1,000 Litecoincash, and I still have my original on-chain Litecoin that are on the primary chain. So that kind of fork affects some people positively. This can be fraud tied to that. So that's something to keep in mind that you can read about.
Most of the coins are forked that way. Like whatever we have in the market, most of the coins are that way. They are forked like, okay, this blockchain, we're gonna go to the different chain, and they have two separate chains, and the original owner has both coins.
Yes,
that's right, and it's a pretty common thing to have. And you know, some people have opinions on it, and that's fine. But that's a really common way to go. Now, a project fork is when you say, I really like what this particular project is doing, maybe it's Litecoin, but I don't want to have any of their chain history. So if anybody came to our new project, we'll call it Lynx, our new Lynx project. Well, that's going to confuse if I use that example. We'll call it Sphinx. So I'm going to create a new project called Sphinx. But I really like the Litecoin project code, the way, because I'm a nerdy code guy, and I've looked at the Litecoin code, and I like how it works. It seems quote unquote fair to me. So what I do is I drop the blockchain history for it. So anybody, that guy who had 1,000 Litecoin, he's not going to be super thrilled with Sphinx because there's no chain fork. All we're doing is taking a clone of the project repo at GitHub. We're cloning it over to a Sphinx project now. We're modifying the Genesis block. We're wiping the blockchain history, and we're starting the blockchain from Genesis block number 0. And we're starting from 0 again. So, you know, and you may have some initial pre-mine rules or some pre-release rules or whatever. All that stuff's on chain, that's defined. Oftentimes when it's done, it benefits the development team. And, you know, there's a lot of examples of that out there. But that would be a project fork. Now, in the case, to answer the question, we did a blend of both. So we kept the blockchain history of Kittycoin. So if you are rich with Kittycoin, then you probably have a lot of Lynx right now. But we had so many problems with the Kittycoin code because it hadn't been maintained. It was rubbish. We quite literally threw it all in the garbage. And we did a project, Litecoin, at that point in time. I guess it was 3 years ago. And then we started out with a fresh copy of Litecoin. That problem that you quoted in the white paper about solving a crypto, that was specifically addressing that. So it can be a little bit of a challenge to take another project code.
That, like, really doing something different.
That's right. All of us have got different ideas. I've done some reading on LCC. I'm not sure I totally understand the whole thing, I'll be honest with you. But I love the idea that there are other smart people working on projects that that's going to benefit the community, it's going to benefit the technology, and it takes us all in the same direction. I think that's totally awesome. I really support what you guys are doing.
Thank you, and likewise, I really keyed into where you talk about the damage to the ecology, right, to the environment from essentially what's an arms race of mining, right? And I guess LCC's twist on that was just to essentially make all this old gear that's SHA-256 that's now outmoded. It kind of revived that. So a little bit of a
that's right.
It doesn't circumvent the arms race, but
very similar in that regard. One of the big things that we were talking about when we were working on this chain fork, project fork concept was, well, when we're done with this, what are we actually going to do? Because again, it goes back to anybody can create an open source blockchain technology. Anybody can create a database. What are you going to do with it? And as a developer, as an entrepreneur, and so what are we going to build with it? And so one of the first things I thought was, well, Bitcoin chews up at the time, it was going to be 3.5 billion a year in electricity costs. And I'd like to think of myself as fairly aware about what's going on in the environment. Like, that's pretty embarrassing. When I fire up a MySQL database or a file server or a Resilio sync node from my private cloud, my BitTorrent cloud that I have for file storage, I'm not really damaging the environment a whole lot, but 3.8 in electricity to keep this network going, that's kind of embarrassing for Bitcoin alone. And that's just the big one. What about the other coin projects that have mining that's consuming hydropower, coal, oil, gas, whatever it is to keep those miners going? That's kind of embarrassing, and we really need to be able to address that one day. And I think we do in some projects. I mean, we've got staking. Obviously, Vitalik's onto it with the Ethereum modification that's occurring. I think that's addressing the concern a little bit. So we're seeing a movement in that direction. I wanted to solve that problem. So we went live, the whole global Lynx network, and even now to today, the electricity cost to fund and move the Lynx network, it's about $500. Yeah, compared to, and I'm talking about annually,
billions
compared to 3.8 billion. Yeah, and we run on Raspberry Pis with CPU miners.
Yeah, I was going to say that bears repeating. The annual cost of Lynx is $500. And I know LCC's innovation is the on-chain mining, so that you don't even have to have a specialized bit of equipment at all to mine. You can just do it as part of the chain, which drops that dramatically.
That's right, and I think they're really fun ideas. Someone might say, "Well, you guys aren't competing with each other." I don't think of it that way at all. I think
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, I see it as a collaborative space. We're all trying different approaches. We're learning from each other. I mean, when you get into the white paper, you learn that rule number 2 in our hybrid proof of work is borrows concepts from proof of stake. Number 3, there's some randomization features. Rule number 1, I don't even know where I borrowed that idea from, and they all overlap and combine with each other. I wish I could say I was smart enough to come up with each one of those ideas raw on their own. But no, we're just standing on the shoulders of science. I think we're all collaborating with each other, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah, that goes back to your neurosphere idea, which I'm looking forward to learning about. In many ways, I see it similar to, anytime you have a shift or a movement, say in music, right, where there's a shift and a new kind of music coming in, you've got a lot of people that come to to the table, and that collaboration makes the overall thing better. Before we get to the
Coltrane,
questions,
and there you go.
Coltrane, exactly. That's some good stuff. John Coltrane and the Love Supreme, right? That's a great album.
I still remember the first time my dad introduced me to we got the Giant Steps vinyl on the record player, and I still remember it kind of makes my hair on my arm stand on end, the feeling that came over me when I heard Giant Steps for the first time. It still gives me kind of a buzz when I listen to it. It's stuff like that inspires us and makes me, in my case, makes me go. Yeah.
So what in crypto gives you that same type of artistic response, that aesthetic thrill?
I like the idea of building a technology that answers a need that we have as technologists. All right, so there's a bit of philosophy to this, and stop me if I get too long-winded. But one of my personal opinions, and I know there's some folks on this that have heard me speak before, members of the Lynx group, and they've heard me say this. So it's my opinion that information technology, IT, is really just an offshoot of biology. I think we as technologists are really just trying to reproduce what we see in biology. So, and I can arguments for that, but DNA is a really great example. I think hard drives and memory and processing power inside of computers and the applications that we build are really replications for what we see in the wild. And so my ideas often come from when I'm troubled and I'm trying to find a solution to ideas. Really, the answers all come from nature. Go for a hike, or I open up one of my evolutionary biology books and I do some reading. All of the answers to many of the problems that we have in technology, I propose, can be found already in nature, because nature has had millions, if not billions of years to solve these problems on its own. And we, with our puny little brains, we think we're so smart with our big egos, we think we can tear it down and then rebuild it just as good. And that maybe in a few thousand years case, but right now, we're memory storage systems, applications that solve particular problems, AI. I always get a laugh when people come to me and say, Ben, aren't you worried about AI? Like, no, I mean, until your AI can go and get a beer out of the fridge, open it, pour it into a glass and give it to you, then my dog can't do that. So you don't have to worry about that. You're just talking about a highly specialized algorithm that's really good at doing something. It's just a program. Let it do its thing. That's great. You don't have to be afraid of it. Leverage it. Use it. Unless it's got guns strapped to its back, I suppose. Some Skynet scenario. Right? So, so what excites me about it is I love the idea of building a blockchain technology that can replicate the functions of data storage in the sense that DNA and RDNA can do in nature. And so I love the idea of being able to take a concept or a fact or a piece of information and have it persist on a generational level in a self-managed way. So it's durable and it's capable of tolerating whatever you can throw at it. And so we already have that with life. I mean, you can nuke a city and some organism is probably going to sprout seeds after a year.
Yes.
Which is
over in Russia where they had the meltdown, right?
You bet. You've got organisms in Chernobyl, fungus that's eating radiation.
Chernobyl, thank you.
Yeah, that just blows my mind, having read that Chernobyl book that I read a couple of years ago, which tells that story. It's just amazing what had happened there. Yet life finds a way. I love the idea of creating technology, specifically with blockchain technology, that's durable in such a way where it can retain information and become accessible with the zero failure rate, the ones and zeros at the bit level. There's zero loss. Even DNA does that. I mean, that's how we have become what we are. We have mutation over time.
Correct, mutations.
With blockchain technology, it disallows for mutation. In fact, mutation really is those forks that you were just talking about, which are naturally occurring in history. Forks, those are good because really are the result of improvements or ideas for improvements. Some forks are going to fail. Some forks won't fail, and the data and the information, the program, the ideas in those forks will find themselves more successful than the parent that it came from, and that parent might wither away. And gee whiz, after a while, you've got human beings, red squirrels and gray squirrels, and these amazing organisms around the world that have their place and do what they do. I propose that blockchain has something very similar to that. So I love the idea of a couple 10,000 years from now, all killed ourselves, the aliens come and land on the planet, and they find these little chips or cards or whatever, these devices that are still running, because our network can run on solar power, that are still running and able to reproduce because our network can store the instructions to build itself. Remember, we're a data storage platform. Our repo is stored on our own chain. So we have the ability for us, just like DNA, to spin up and perpetuate new child nodes, even age them out and let them die over time. And so I love the idea of building that system out, replicating what we see in nature. Oh, and by the way, it has spare space. So I can fund this adventure by selling products and services to customers to store their business data on top of that platform as well.
What a vision.
You asked for it. There it is.
No,
there it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, so that I catch a piece of that. So, I mean, in some ways, you're talking about a singularity of information in a way that outlives the environment it came from. Potentially.
I guess it's just the ability to store data in a perpetual, durable manner, and the mechanism that stores that data, while it may not consciousness, it has the ability to replicate and perpetuate itself in order for that data to be stable and durable. No different than DNA. So I put it in baseline. I want to replicate the abilities of DNA with blockchain technology, except it's going to be, I was going to say it's going to be better, but that's a bit arrogant. Yeah.
But you got to shoot for the moon. Well, you can't get there if you don't try. That's
yeah.
It reminds me
our egos make us. Our egos make us humans unique, doesn't it?
That's exactly right. What's the point of living if you can't have a big ego? So you ever read Jeff Vandermeer's trilogy, the Southern Reach trilogy?
No, I have not. I don't know.
The only reason there is a character of sorts in the first novel that is kind of like what you're talking about. It's I would call it a living DNA strand that contains the information of the society it came from. And it's fascinating how it kind of replicates in a way mindlessly or mindfully, right? In ways that humans can just marvel at. In this case, your audience is aliens, right? From some future civilization.
It makes me think of that Star Trek episode. Picard is trapped in that machine that basically he lives the life. And do you remember where he learns to play the flute? And he lives that life as the scientist in that one society on that world that was destroyed by a explosion, or I think the sun supernova. But they archived the story of that culture, and in a sense where they were able to, obviously they beamed in Picard's brain into it, and Picard lived a full lifetime in that 46-minute episode that we saw, and it really shook him. But the technology that was used in that culture to be able to do that, I mean, that's really great science fiction, but there might be something to that idea.
Well, so it's interesting you say that, because if I have my vision for the perfect society, it would be, as a human, an ability to inhabit other lives, right? To have that experience, and yet you didn't live that life, but you have the experience of it, and you've gained, in a way, you become multitudes yourself, right?
Yeah, in a sense,
you've taken that information.
Yeah, in a sense, I would argue that you already have that. It's at the library. I think that
absolutely.
Yeah, and so I would argue that if we could put all those books on the chain, then and make them accessible, freely for to live all the lives that they can through books, and there's something to it. While I'm not in any rush to die or grow old, because aging sucks, I do know that I wish that I could live a whole lot longer, but I don't think anybody would really want to be immortal.
Yeah, I agree with that. Problems, right? Well, this has just been a thrilling chat. Thank you. I believe, Rab, we have a question from the community, or two, or 20.
Is there a spot where they're popping up that
let's see. Did you see any questions in the chat?
No.
Well, it's not a question. Just as we did find someone who had a picture of a smoking rabbit and desired him or herself to be immortal. It doesn't quite answer what you said, but what life has that rabbit had if it's smoking? So one question from the group, where to you, Ben, where can you get kitty coins, or can you, or is it all Lynx now? We're going to the mountaintop with
Did I
this,
lose
WB.
you? Yeah.
There we go. There you are.
Yeah, sorry, I've clicked into a channel and I lost my mic. So if you want to get kitty coins, you could try, but I've been trying to do a good job of shutting that project down. And one of the reasons is because the only time that the kitty coin project pops up is when scammers are coming online. So we often have people try to sell kitty coins or move them around. If you want to go down that path and play around with the kitty coin stuff, you can, but you got to remember, and I try to remind people, we took over that project and we forked it because the old code is riddled with bugs. If you have kitty coin in a wallet, I think it's probably a matter of hours before they're going to be stolen from you. There are some, for example, the hierarchical determination within the wallet wasn't implemented properly. So, I mean, there's a Python script floating around. I might have a copy of it on my computer. You just run the program for a few hours, and you'll discover all of the addresses that are available within a particular wallet. You can just go look at an address, copy and paste it, bring it over, and discover the non-HD sister addresses that are available, and quite literally steal those coins. So if you want to get into kitty coin, that's fine, but maybe as like an educational thing or just to test some attacks or whatever. But I wouldn't go down the kitty coin path for reasons. We tried to shut it down with exchanges and wallet vendors and paper wallet groups whenever we can, and just to help out the community.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Hopefully, WB, that answered your question.
It's also an argument for the durability of blockchain technology, to be honest with you. I mean, it's really easy to spin up a blockchain, but it's really, really hard to shut one down. Even when you want to shut it down, it's hard to shut down. It's a great argument when Logware customers come to me and say, I worry about Lynx and Logware going out of business. Will I lose access to my data? And I can say, like, yeah, those are possibilities, I suppose. Something really bad could happen, but to shut down every single Lynx node and lose that data, it would be really, really hard to do.
I've never looked at the other side of that. So this goes back to your vision of a blockchain.
How many nodes do you need to keep it alive?
You need at least, well, you really want to have a minimum of 2 nodes in order to perpetuate the blocks, but you could just have 1 node and just have it in non-sync mode.
Because you can't tell the customer just run by yourself 2 nodes and it will never get lost.
Well, we actually have an answer for that. So for some of our customers like the idea because it's fun, they just fire up a Raspberry Pi. We have a Raspberry Pi ISO that LynxCI ISO card that we built out. So they flash their card, they pop the card in the Raspberry Pi, they plug it into the Ethernet router at the office, the lights flash, and there it is. It's syncing and it's mining. And when they're meeting with their customers, they point at it and go, yeah, that's blockchain. Our data for our company is on that Raspberry Pi right there. I'm like, oh man, that's so cool. It's a great talking point. But that's just one of the 600 nodes globally distributed. And yeah, that Raspberry Pi, it's just one little honeybee doing the work of the global hive. And if it goes down, it gets lost. It's no big deal. But each one counts. I think you LCC nerds probably know about this concept. Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
It's good stuff. Well, thank you very much.
Kind of thinking the same way.
Did you have any parting words for us?
No, other than just thanks for inviting me. Oskoi and I get noodles every once in a while, and he's been telling me about the LCC project for a long time, and so the positive work you guys are doing. So thanks for inviting me along. I think we've probably been orbiting around each other for over a year, maybe a year and a half, probably the first time I've spoken directly with the group. And so
well,
I
it's a
thank
real
you.
pleasure to have you. Yeah, likewise. Thank you, and live long and prosper.
You as well, and all the listeners.
Thanks, Ben. If
anybody wants to get involved with or learn more about Lynx, you can go to getlynx.io and download the white paper. And there's links there for our Discord and our Twitter. All our information is available at getlynx.io.
Can you
Put it in
can you
general.
post
No,
that
he
on a
cannot.
chat
No,
so
he
people
he
can see it?
cannot.
Yeah, put it in a chat.
It will be probably the link will be. The link will work. Discord invites will not work. Yeah.
Okay, I'll
It's
post
just the
something
link.
in the
Yeah, link. Yeah.
general channel. Yeah, LYNX. I'll post something in the general channel.
Okay.
Excellent.
So
Thank you so much.
it's a wrap. Okay. So let's play some Tool, I guess, to make everybody
Excellent
happy.
choice. Excellent choice. Tool for our friend.
Love it.